Hey guys, it is Thursday, May 30th. Bitcoin's at 68,200. And this week, or today, I'm going to talk about, take a closer look at the U.S. budget deficit and where it's going. So I'm going to call this episode Debt Spiral. All right, so let's just take a quick look at some numbers here, okay? And, okay, so here we go with this debt spiral. All right, so this is kind of a 2023 picture of kind of where we spent our money and where we received our money. And, you know, if you look at it this way and you go total revenue is 4.4 trillion, okay? We took in 4.4 trillion. We spent 6.1. Sorry, this was the budgeted spend was 6.1. We actually spent a little bit more. We spent more like 6.4 than that. But we budgeted to have about a 1.7 trillion dollar deficit. Right now, it was more than that. But let's just go over the individual categories. Doesn't look completely out of control if you look at it this way, right? Doesn't look completely out of control. But then we dive in a little bit more, right? And really, the individual taxes part of this, you know, what you and I pay in taxes is 2.2 trillion, right? So it's only half of that. 1.6 is from the payroll taxes, which all of that's just deducted right out of your paycheck, right? And that goes to Social Security and Medicare, right? Corporate taxes does not really make that much of an impact, and there's some excise taxes, some other taxes there. Now, that's on the revenue side. Now, on the expense side, you can see that this mandatory expenses, which is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and various other programs, is 3.8 trillion, right? And then we have discretionary, which this graph just breaks into non-defense and defense. I think that's fine. And then you have net interest here. Okay, so now, again, from a super high level view, you're going, well, this is not so bad. I mean, we're, you know, sort of 4.4 over 6.4, so we're like 15% a little bit. We're spending a little bit like 15% too much. And yeah, maybe that's not so bad, given that we're the number one world power, et cetera, et cetera. But now let's take a closer look, okay? At the discretionary level, right, again, it looks like we're taking in $2.2 trillion in individual taxes, right? But our outlays are already 2.7 trillion. Okay, now where does that come from? Well, again, the non-defense part and the defense are about equal. And then we have this interest payment. Right. Well, interest was budgeted at 0.6 trillion, ended up being 1 trillion. Okay. So we're already in the hole, right, without any mandatory programs. We're already in the hole. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the mandatory, the entitlements. Well, this is where the problem is, right? Because now we've got these payroll taxes coming in, the 1.6 trillion, but we got 3.8 trillion coming out, right? So we got Social Security and Medicare. Already, what's going out is far more than what's coming in. We got Medicaid, we got income security, we got other. So basically, we have a $2.2 trillion hole. And that $2.2 trillion hole is only the beginning of the problem. Because as the U.S. population ages, guess what? They hit the Social Security. And the other problem is, as they age, they get more sick. They start using Medicare. End of life becomes the big expense. And we are definitely aging as a population. So this $2.2 trillion deficit is going to get much worse, okay? Now, if I look here at the Social Security, just the Social Security itself, without even looking at Medicare, you know, this was done a couple of years ago, it was 2019, but you can really see what's happening here, right? So we're at already 1.3 here in spending. This thing's going to zoom up, you know, over time, but let's just look at it over the next 10 years, right? it's going to go up to, 2 trillion, 1.5, 2, 1.7, 1.8 trillion within 10 years, right? So with Medicare going to go up, it's going to go up also huge. And also, let's say, Social Security is indexed to inflation. Right? So if inflation goes up, Social Security automatically adjusts, right? So what is the impact of all this? It means even in the sort of easiest, best projections, we're going to go, from sort of the, 1.7, 1.8 trillion, 2 trillion, to 3 trillion, to 4 trillion within the next 10 years, right? So we have a structural problem on our hands. Let's now go all the way back to the beginning and take a look at this budget. Is you go, okay, Fred, I made you king of the world. What are you going to do? Well, if I can't touch this, I can't do anything, because all I can do is I can cut from defense or non-defense. I'm not going to be able to cut much in the defense area, by the way, because even if I don't send, aid to Ukraine or do anything like that, I still need to. We're in a much more unsafe world right now today than we were even 10, 15 years ago, right? So we need to increase this defense thing. Non-defense, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of, fat there. And what about this net interest here, right? Well, this was an interest, this ended up being $1 trillion, right, for 2023. And interest rates have gone up since 2023. Okay, so we're quarter point, half point higher, right, on average. And as the debt gets rolled over, it gets rolled over into higher coupons. So, we had financed a lot of this debt at much lower levels. So this trillion could easily become $1.5 trillion, okay, in interest, especially if they keep rates high, right? So, this is kind of where we're kind of getting into this debt spiral, right? Because this net interest thing is going to go up, right now. It's going to go up. And if there's inflation, Social Security payments is going to go up because they're indexed to inflation, right? This stuff's going to get worse just demographically because we're aging and because these things are underfunded. So I think we've got just this massive problem, mathematical problem with the U.S. budget. It's just not solvable. It's not as simple as saying, great, let's cut the fat. It's not that simple. Anyways, those are my thoughts on why really this situation is really out of control. And as kind of Luke Groman was saying in a comment, really the only way to really substantially address this is to go after entitlements. And, this is a taboo subject. It's something that even Trump does not want to bring up. Something the Democrats have pledged they will not do. They will not bring up. And their solution is to increase taxes to 40%. But as we saw here, this is not solvable by just increasing taxes. We got a major problem on our hands. Anyways, that's my episode. Thanks.